We just finished up the car show on the weekend, the Sleds North. Now we're going to get back on the Packard. So we're going to take the front wheels off. We'll take the back wheels off. Potentially switching the rear axle. We'll get some numbers off of that, get the tires off, drop it down. The frame's just going to rest on the hoist, so we won't have to worry about anything. But we did get a little bit of a hookup on some tools, so we are going to try the flex tools. So we're going to use these on this project. I'm not going to use any of my other tools, and we're going to see how well it goes. I do have the air tools and the electric tools, so if we need to, we'll switch to those, but we're going to just try and just use the flex tools and see how it goes. So obviously we're still going to use the plasma table to cut out the notches. I've already got them fabbed up from some cardboard, but let's get the wheels and tires off this car and we can start making the front mounts. The back, I already know how I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm cutting this floor. Oh my god. I don't think we're cutting the floor out of the trunk on this one. We're going to mount the bag up underneath and do a behind axle setup. So we'll do up a design for that. We are still going to have to cut for the drive shaft tunnel. There's no way around that. So let's get these tires off and go from there. First one we're going to use is the impact gun. I got a jack on the back side of this, so that's why it's not dropping. We'll get the tire off. I don't know why I think I'm so tall tonight. Let's drop this hoist down. with this, we'll go to a okay, we got it off. I unbolted the pump, moved it over so I could get the tire out. So we know we're gonna have fun next time. I should be able to have the car jacked up and have more room to get it on for the next round. That wasn't fun. We're not gonna repeat that. So we'll move over, get the tires off of the other side, and then we'll start to disassemble our steering linkages, take our control arms off. Maybe we'll get some of these jacking trays out of the way so that we can start to work on the front. Okay, so in the backs of these, we've got our upright, our kingpin, our spindle. So to get the upright off of the lower control arm, we have to undo a nut on this side, and then on the other side is the bolt, and it goes all the way through there's threads in the lower control arm into the upright. There's a eccentric bushing there, and then into the opposite side of the A-arm. So we'll take off this jam nut next. This one is a 1.25 inches. And we're doing the chrome on impact. That's our jam nut off. Switch to our closest I have is a 29 mil. Squeeze ourselves into this side. This side also has a grease fitting. All right, so there's your bolt that goes right the way through. So we got our Zerk fitting here, the grease port's in the middle, and then our jam nut goes on the back end. So now our lower control arm is separated from our upright. We had a gasket come out of there. We'll have a couple more. So we got these rubber gaskets, keep the grease in. One on each side. So when you reassemble them, you see there's a bit of a shoulder here. So if you push the bushing over top and sit it against the upright, then you get it in the spot, and then you can pull it out and it'll sit on that groove there. So we're going to pull this out, get it cleaned up. This was the washer from the nut side, the jam nut side. So we're just going to clean this up. We'll do the same on the other side. And we'll put a block or something in there to elevate this whole unit up. There's no tension on the brake line, so it's not for that. It's just so I can get in, figure out what I'm doing with this pocket in here. We're going to do a shed 40 pipe. We'll do a threaded rod up through where the original shock used to be. We'll make our cup fit in there. And then on the bottom, I think we're going to end up having to widen out this arm where the bag goes and remove this bottom out of it, and we'll do our own bottom setup. So we'll also figure out what it's stopping on right now, because we need to get another 1/2 inch out of the top, or out of the ride height. So we'll get this cleaned up and come back. I was just thinking while I got this tipped up, you can see the threads running through the upright, through that bushing. And then you got a thread here, a thread here. You've got a washer. On the back of this nut, the jam nut, there's serrations. So you just want to make sure that that's facing your lock washer. So now we've got cleaned up. what I'm going to do is take this lower control arm, jack it up. It's under a bit of tension right now with the bushings in the A-arm. I'll see where it hits. If this is hitting here, that's easy. We're going to remove that anyway, and that'll get us our height. We also want to look at our pocket height, because we've got our Slam Specialties bag that's got to fit up in there, and it's got to have some space on top of it for a mount, because we've got a fitting coming out of here too. So, you know, about a 2-inch cup at least, so that's going to put us at a 5-inch overall height. And then the spring I cut out, oh, I don't even think we're going to need to clearance that pocket. We'll see once we get the cup in where it sits, but there's some nice room around that, so that's good. We always want to have room around them. I like using Slam bags because they don't balloon out. I have seen other bags balloon and grow an inch in diameter, and then they start chafing. So I've always run Slam bags in the fronts of my cars. In the back, you got tons of clearance. You can plan for an inch of growth in a bag. So just a little tip there, but let's get this jacked up. Do that right now. See if we can get this. See if we can get this big guy in here. I doubt it. I doubt it. It's not going to happen. I'll bring you back when it's ready. Okay, so it is hitting right here on here, and then it's going to hit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim, bring this corner out so we still have a lip, and do the same on this side so we still have a lip. We'll leave that, and then we're going to trim this bottom across so that we're flush with this surface here, and that way we can retain our upper bump stop and the shape of how this is in here. So we'll get the grinding wheel, cut off wheel. We'll cut where we want to finish off across, and then we'll radius it in. Same on this side, radius it in. This one will just cut straight across the bottom, and just make sure we deburr the edges. Not that anything's going to rub on it, but it's always good to deburr your edges. If someone goes in there and sticks their finger in there and slices their finger, thumb open, I don't want to be the cause of that. So let's get grinding. Actually, I'm going to pull the other side off first, and then I'll cut some of this up. Well, I ended up taking this lip right off and then cut that out. I'm still going to take my deburring tool, get the back edge of this. We got the passenger side too, so they're both cut out. You can see inside the spring pocket there where the new cup is going to sit around that lip, so that when our bag goes in, we'll probably drop that down. We have to drop that down a little bit, but man, it almost looks good just flush on that. We're going to do a super shallow cup on this one. Oh yeah, we're doing a super shallow cup on this bad boy. So I'm going to use a piece of old, reach across here. So this is our old coil. So it sat up in there perfect. Did this on my S10, I had to. And then weld the cup onto that. And then we'll have our threaded rod going up through, utilizing the old hole. So to cut and grind all this, like I said, we're using our flex tool. So the grinder did do its job. I did have a couple issues with it where this switch, let me disconnect the battery here. This switch is not the easiest to push with one hand. I'm sure once I get used to it a little bit more, it'll be fine, but I had times where I was grinding and it would just lift a little bit, and I didn't even have my hands near it, and it would stop, so I'd have to stop, reset, and go again. And I did go through 3 batteries. Now these are only the 2.5 amp hour batteries, but I did burn through 3 of them just doing that bit of work. So there are different battery size options that I think I'm going to investigate, but overall, like, the tool held up. I'm not easy on grinders. I've been through probably 6 grinders in the past couple years, over that. So currently we had a Milwaukee, and my brother just gave me his Mastercraft that he has no use for. So the Milwaukee Electric's been a workhorse. I've been beating the crap out of that. This one, you know, I beat on it pretty hard just then, and it held up. No complaints. The Mastercraft, don't even waste your money. I've stalled that thing out, had it stuck in stuff. You know, it doesn't have the guts. But, you know, using the firm abrasive disc on that did a good job. So we're going to get into cutting our cups now. So for that, we're going to use our Shed 40, 4-inch Shed 40 pipe. We'll make our own cups. We'll get on the plasma table, cut our bag mounts, and start to get that stuff in. Once we have the upper bag mounts in, we'll put our builder bags bolted in. All this stuff's going to come out a bunch of times. We'll put our builder bags in, bring the lower control arm up, and figure out what we need to do on the lower control arm. We'll probably end up cutting the arms and making a sweep around to have clearance for the bag depending on where it hits. And if we go through the A-arm, meaning, you know, if we're going to sit on the bottom like the coil did, or are we going to put the plate on top, we'll have to see what that looks like. But I'm going to get the bags or the fittings into, because they're a 1/2 inch. Slam is a 1/2 inch NPT. We're running 3/8 line, so I'll have to make sure that fitting clears everything that I'm putting into with the airline, because the airline is not super flexible. It is a nylon airline, so we have to make sure all that fits when we're putting this in. Make sure all our clearances are in during our fab stages, because we don't want to have anything once it's all in. We don't want to take it out again. So we'll set the upper cup up now, start fabbing on that, and then we'll see what our bottom control arm looks like. So let's get into the top cups. Okay, so said I was going to use those tools exclusively on the project. I'd run out of all 4 batteries, so I switched back to the electric. The battery operated did have a nicer balance, but I just wanted to working away. So we'll let them charge up, keep trying to use them as much as we can, keep trialing them. So far, you know, I definitely need bigger batteries, and that switch on the side is the only other issue I have. The impact gun worked great, no complaints on that one. We'll get all those charged up, we'll get the heat on these, get them bent around, get everything welded up, get the plasma back assembled. I had it disassembled when we were cutting those springs. So I'll do all that, and then we'll get cutting some discs and welding. We've got fire control open, so we're going to load a program. Oh, we got to turn it on. It's on. It's not plugged in. So before you can do anything with this program, you have to plug the computer into the machine. Now it allows us to do things. So let's load. Let's load our. We're going to need slam bottom plate and top plate. So let's take top plate first. There's our top plate. Let's set our origin. Top left corner. Now we got to set our machine up to where we want it. So let's put this over to where the steel is. We're going to get our little gauge that the machine comes with. Set it down on top of the steel with the tip. And that's set up for the height. So I'm going to slow down our machine rate. Bring it over to the corner I want. That looks good there. We'll turn on our plasma. And we also need to zero, this is our home location. So we need to zero out our home. So now we're going to start our top left. It's going to do this hole, and then do the perimeter of it. So we're ready to rock. Let's hit start. Get cutting. Another one. So our graph, or our machine shows us where we are, so I just pick a spot that's really close to it. My cuts are probably going to overlap, but that's fine. I'm saving material, and we'll start again. we still have our screen on, we're going to go down to the bottom. And we'll go over to our left, furthest edge. Right there. We'll set our home position before we change programs. Okay, let's grab our bottom plates. I have to get rid of some of this stuff. Slam bottom plate. Okay, we'll set our program origin, top left again. And now that's set. Let's get started on that one. Okay, and then while we're in that program, let's go off to our left side, or right side, go up to our 0 position, close enough, 3 thou away. We'll set a new home position, and we'll cut our second RE6 bottom. That's going to be it for our cutting tonight. So close that out, disconnect, turn off our machines. Okay, so that's our top and bottom plates for our RE6 mounts for the front. The backs we're running the RE7s. So we'll cut different mounts for that. We'll also be cutting brackets for the control arms and the shock mounts. So we're definitely not done on the machine. We'll have, I'm gonna probably change the, we're gonna design a lower mount. We're gonna design a lower mount for this one that sits. Got the lower control arm cut apart. I see where my bag's gonna be. We can see right here, it's gonna be really close. So I'm gonna get the bottom plate in, and then we'll work on doing the sweep around once I can take it out and put it on the table. So what we're doing now is we're gonna do our lower plates here. So we're gonna cut this out manually on the plasma, and we'll put it up in here. I still gotta grind these tabs off. I've done it to the lower on the other side. So I still got to grind these tabs off. I can tack everything together, pull it off. I can trim, sorry about the light. I can trim the cup after that and get it sitting nice. I'll leave a bit of a lip to put a bead of weld around the whole thing. And then we'll do some bracing across the entire plate into the control arm and strengthen it up even more than it was from factory. We'll do the same on the front. We'll add a gusset out to the front, probably on an angle, to take it out further. The upper pocket, we've got all that trimmed away. Builder bag is in there looking good on both sides. So we're going to work on cutting this now, and then we'll get that ground tacked in, pull it off again, rinse and repeat. Where is my net? On the floor. There's our two pieces. I'm going to clean them up. I'll put this plate back off to the side, and then we'll get tacking them in. Okay, there's our two pieces. I'm going to clean them up. I'll put this plate back off to the side, and then we'll get tacking them in. Alright, we got the driver's side in. Bag's in there. I still got to get the bolt through into the upright. This is the passenger side, so we got the bag in there loosely, so I can still slightly adjust it. Got a set screw in there, so the set screw is going to help me locate on that center hole there when I put everything in. And then the upper's just on that 1/2 inch threaded rod that's welded to the base and then has the support in it. So let's get this one in, tightened up on here, and then we'll get the bolt that goes through the upright. And remember that we got those 2 rubber grommets that got to go on it. We're going to have to jack that up a little bit to get those bolts in. Where's our threaded holes? Right there. Perfect, right there. Just had 3. There they are. 1. Okay, and then to get our set screw out, use an Allen key. So that pulled out that set screw that lined everything up for us. Okay, then we just got to go up top, tighten up the 1/2 inch threaded rod. You can't really see up in there because there's no light. So we got our threaded rod there. We'll tighten that up, but there's our bag sitting in there. Tons of clearance around it. And then this is our upright that we got to put the bolt back through. So it's a little tight to get it in there. We'll come back once it's in. I was telling my youngest son how hard it was to get this in here, but the car was down. So now the car's up higher. I'll probably take it up a little bit more. I won't have to mess around with this at all. So I'll take that up. Then we have wide open space. Just like that. And we'll jack that lower control arm up now. Never had one of those, but I really like that one. So much easier than fighting with an airline. Trying to get it in the right spot. Well, that's the front bags in. Lower control arms are all modified. We're gonna move on to the back now. I ran out of weld gas, so I gotta get a new tank of gas tomorrow or Tuesday. We're gonna work on getting the rear wheels off so we can get a measurement, potential axle swap. But front's done. I got the long lines in. I can run those. We're gonna do the shocks later. I don't like doing shocks at the same time. I like doing everything, all the big fab, and then move on to shocks. Then I can pull it off. I'll probably do them over here where the Scout is. But for now, that's done. Thanks for watching. Next video, we'll do the rear. Alright, we could have ended our video there, but we were given these tools to trial out and give our opinion on. So, the drill, it worked great. My Milwaukee, when I'm drilling down, it'll stop on me and I have to flick it up and flick it back and it'll start drilling again. This one I had no issues with stoppage. Worked really well. The Impact, one of my new favorites. It's got a shock mount here and I don't know, it works great. 3 different settings here. 1, 2, 3, and A, whatever A is. I should read about that, figure out what it is, but love it. Our 3/8 Impact. I do like this one-handed collar, so you can get things in and out easily, and use this as you saw in the control arms. Again, worked really well. The sawzall we used a little bit on the lower control arms. Had good speed, could control it. Fancy little hook to hang it on stuff so you're not letting it on the ground. It does have a lock there and has a wiggle feature. Didn't really get into it for what I was doing. When you eject your blade, it stays open. There's no chance for it to slide back. Worked well. Our grinder, we use this the most on this project and burned through these batteries really quick. We're going to try some bigger batteries coming up to see if we can hold up a little bit better, but I could burn through 4 faster than they could charge. And my other complaint about it is the switch being on this side. The ones I've been using have thumb, so you can, when you're in somewhere, you can hit it with your thumb and get going. This one you have to wrap around and you got to push forward and then click it down to lock it. If I could change one thing about this grinder, it would be that. To me, it's poor placement. I really like the on top. It's easier. This one you're holding in a weird position to try and get it going, but the weight of it is great. Definitely gonna get a bigger battery and keep using this. They've all held up really well. No complaints with performance. Obviously battery capacity is going to be a limiting thing no matter what brand you buy, but you know, if I could, definitely modify this switch placement. It's tricky to use once the battery gets low and you have it in the on position. It'll stop and it's stopped in that on position. So you got to flick it back down, push it up, lock it back in, it'll go again. That seemed to be, once the battery was starting to fatigue, I would get that and it would happen 2-3 times. And then I finally clued in that it was a battery issue. So again, let's get a bigger battery in this, give it another chance. We already know that the switch is not our favorite thing, but you know, it's good to trial out new tools. Definitely switch back to the wired grinder, the Milwaukee, to do some grinding and some cutting while the other ones were charging. But I tried to stick to that one to give it a good review, to give it a good trial, to see if I could break it. Wasn't able to stall it out, but I could. That obviously took way more battery life away from it. The Milwaukee and piece of crap Mastercraft, I can stall those out all the time if I want to. Especially when you're using a grinding wheel or you get it jammed, it's going to die out on you. So we'll get some bigger batteries. We'll keep trialing. But for the impact, the Sawzall, the small impact in the drill, the 2.5 was fine, battery size, but the grinder just, it's not enough. It eats through the batteries. So that's my quick review on them. We'll keep using them. We have a lot of drilling coming up with all the mounting of the compressor's tank. We got a 4-link going in. I don't think we'll have any drilling on that, but we'll be using the impact more. We'll use the baby impact a little bit more. I'm going to get back up here, make sure all these are tight, but we'll see how tight they turned out with that 3/8 impact. Mainly just use that to get them in, but overall, good tools. Small complaints really for what it is, but appreciate the ability to trial them out. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.